Here we have the sun. And I'll just put all the planets, yes? And then here's Pluto, all the way far from the sun. This region that rings the whole solar system is called Kuiper's belt. It was named by a Dutch scientist, Mr. Kuiper. Now, about 2007 or so, NASA, and this was on CNN, BBC, AOL, all the big news services, they said in the Kuiper's belt they were picking up objects, big ones, little ones, all these big objects. Every day, literally every day, they found another one. And they would give them number designations. They called them by certain names, who discovered them. And it started to look kind of strange. Because, you know, planets rotate around the sun, like this, yes? But some of them are going that way. And some of them were going that way. It's like, well, if they're attracted by the sun's gravitational field, how could they move in these different directions? It didn't make sense. Some were going faster than others. Some were going faster than the inner orbits of the inner planets. Didn't make any sense. And people started to get a little suspicious. You know, what are those things out there? So that's when they had to change the story. And they said, well, Pluto happens to be not a planet, really. It's a Kuiper's belt object, just like all these other ones. So don't worry, it's just always been there. The problem is, Pluto wasn't there until 1930. That's when it just appeared. So, what is Pluto? It doesn't act like anything else in the solar system. It even has two little objects swirling around it like satellites. Well, to make a long story short, there was then a blackout on this information for a good year and a half, almost 2 years. Then a few months ago, they said, some of these objects are coming a little closer out of the Kuiper's belt. Then they blocked that out again. We still don't know if Pluto is a planet or a planetoid or a Kuiper's belt. That we still don't know what they call it anymore. They don't even know. They just stopped the whole issue. So, basically, oh, and then what happened a couple months ago? We see these objects from the NASA sun cam coming out of the sun and coming this way. Huge planet-sized objects coming out of the sun. And you can see, they're not natural. They have odd shapes. What did NASA say when people said, hey, that looks like a spaceship? What did NASA say? Well, it looks like a spaceship because it's an anomaly in the photographic lens that then transmits to the Earth, and that's why it looks like that, but it's not like that. That's what NASA said. Did I also tell you what's on the dark side of the moon? Again, photo sent to me from someone with connections to NASA. The dark side of the moon, there's a crater, satellite orbiting the moon, and it sees this in there, a building. Looks like that. Swastika. Clear as day in the crater of the dark side of the moon. So what did NASA say? It was an anomaly from the interference of a weather device that we had sent over the moon, and unfortunately took on the shape of a very negative object. Unfortunately, looks like this. It's just an anomaly. Why am I telling you this? Because that's why I went to Antarctica. Antarctica, the bottom here, is where the Fourth Reich is. In 1944 and 1945, ships from the north of Germany and submarines went to South America and then to Antarctica and never returned. Documents after the war showed the Germans were meticulous in their documentation. Every hair on every head was documented. 1938 to 1944, they said they were building an underground paradise for the Führer in Antarctica. And they were using materials from South America and South Africa and shipping it on. This is documented in German history. In 44 and 45, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people from Poland, Ukraine, Russia, Germany, from Scandinavia, boarded trains to Bremerhaven and took submarines and ships to Antarctica, never came back. 1946, the British, the Canadian, and the Americans sent a fleet to Antarctica for war. Now, it's 46, the war's over. They never explained why. For 9-10 months, they sent war vessels to Antarctica. When we were in Antarctica, we saw plaques, whatever, signs, that said the bases were established to monitor the enemy. Remember that?
Yeah.
What enemy? Who? The penguins? Maybe the walrus terrorists are there. What enemy were they monitoring? It's right there, black and white on the base. Interesting, no? The enemy is in Schwabenland, underneath Antarctica, and also extends to Lake Vostok, where the Russian base is located. The Russian base had to be abandoned because the lake, which was frozen, suddenly rose 65 degrees with electromagnetic anomalies of an artificial nature coming from underneath. And all the scientists were getting sick and having cancer and dying. So the Russians closed the base. And one by one, a lot of the bases are being closed up because they're getting sick from some kind of electromagnetic disturbance from under the ground, from the Führer's paradise. It's believed that they had vehicles which they called Vrillcraft, which was found on the island of Peenemünde in the north coast of Germany, which was their version of Area 51. These crafts could fly into space. That's what created the moon base and the swastika form. These people are in league with the Kuiper's belt. For what purpose? Only they know. But I am sure it's not a good purpose. That's why we bombed the moon. Did you ever wonder why we bombed the moon? Did you ever wonder anything, any of you? Is there anything going on?
When did we bomb the moon?
Did you know we bombed the moon?
Not that I really said.
Yeah. Why did they bomb the moon? They said they wanted to see, when the particles fly up in the air, if there was water in it. Well, landed on the moon supposedly. Couldn't the rover drill down and see if there was water in there? Why do they have to bomb the moon? And if there's no atmosphere, why would it rise up into the atmosphere and fall back down, right? Wouldn't it just fly away into space because there's no atmosphere? The bombing was blacked out. They let you see up to the moment, and then they blacked it out. And then they came back later and said, oh yes, it was very successful. What did they bomb? Well, they bombed a probe from the Kuiper's belt that was monitoring the Earth. The Illuminati are very scared of the Kuiper's belt because they don't know who or what they are. And it's not just one group. It is literally dozens of different groups. Many of them are insectoid. Some are not from this universe. Many are not from this galaxy. But obviously, they're all very interested in here. So that means the Illuminati must be very bad people to attract such a crowd from so far away. But, as I mentioned, it doesn't mean they love you either. You know, I told you about the woman in Estonia who said, when she was asked, who did you prefer to control you, the Russians or the Nazis? And she said, that's like asking me if I want to have a stroke or a heart attack. The end is the same. So, that's what I say. Illuminati, Kuiper, same thing. Different, well, different crap, same, different toilet, same crap. So, that's what's going on. On the earth, outside the earth, in the earth, there's a lot of action. And you are in the middle of all of it. And you attracted it. It's all your fault. I'm just visiting.